Greetings and salutations, horror movie fans. My name is Gilbert Ybarra, and welcome back to the Attic Review. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite style of storytelling in the horror movie world, okay? I love anthologies. Now, I know what you're saying. You've probably heard that word, and you're like, Gil, what's an anthology? I'm glad you asked. This is an anthology. An anthology film is a subgenre of films consisting of several different short films, often tied together by only a single theme, premise, or brief interlocking event. Sometimes each one is directed by a different director. Anthologies. So there is the absolute definition, well, maybe not absolute, but the definition of an anthology. One of the best, most flawless examples of an anthology that I can give you is Trick or Treat. An amazing anthology. But today, we're not going to be talking about Trick or Treat. We're going to be talking about 5 other anthologies that I feel should be on your radar. So let's check that shit out. Alrighty, so the first movie I want to talk about in my 5 anthologies that aren't Trick or Treat that you should watch is a film that's, when I was shopping, I want to say at Walmart, I'm sorry, but I had to do some shopping, bro. And they have a not a bad selection of DVDs. So I'm walking around and I see this DVD case. And it says anthologies, and it said it was released in 2019. I was like, oh my goodness, a newly released anthology that I've never heard of. And according to the cover, it looked like we had a radio DJ telling these stories, and I was like, oh snap, you got my attention. So what movie is it? One second. We are talking about Night of Horror Nightmare Radio. In Nightmare Radio, we are following disc jockey Rod as he hosts a show that talks about all things scary. So he's telling his stories, and he's also having his listeners call in stories as well. Some of them are true, some of them aren't. Or actually, I have no idea what's true and what not, because we have no idea what the lines of reality are in this film. As we're listening to our spooky broadcast with Rod, we are entertained to 7 stories. Now, these 7 stories, some of them are wonderful, some of them are kind of so this movie, unfortunately, is plagued with a lot of inconsistency. However, like I said, when the ones that are smash hits are smash hits. The first one, Now, honestly, like I said, the movie can be inconsistent, but the whole reason I'm even talking about this film is the opening story. I kind of coined it Coins for the Dead. Now, we're talking about a House of the Prairie style setting. We're talking about the older days, and spoiler alert here, we're dealing with dead children, and unfortunately, a child and mother having to take portraits of the dead. I guess that was the thing back in the day. I didn't know that shit, but apparently it's a thing. And let me tell you something, it is so fucking spooky. Yeah, I'm seriously not even just trying to hype this movie up. I was genuinely scared when I saw it. Like, I actually did have a blanket and was kind of like, oh my god, because I wasn't expecting it to come out just swinging for the fences. And it did. However, I am sad because it started off so strong and the rest of the movie kind of just fizzled. Still worth it. The stories in between the first story and the ending of the movie, there's some decent stories in there, but I'm not gonna lie to you, please don't be disappointed if it doesn't have the same energy after the first story. So you've been warned, but you will have fun, I promise. Let's get on to the next movie. This next anthology was rushed. Really rushed to get out and be released after the success of the first film. I'm not going to beat around the bush, alright. The first film was called VHS, which is a messed up movie. Now, I'm not going to talk about that one because I liked it. However, I feel that the sequel, VHS 2, is superior, and I want to talk about this one right now. VHS 2 was released in 2013, and we were following 2 private investigators, 2 gumshoes looking for a missing college student. And they come, they get a hint, they get a lead, if you will, and they go to this, of course, it's a fucking abandoned house. They go to an abandoned house and they find mountains and loads of VHS tapes. Now, any one of us, I would hope, would see that and say, let's get the fuck out of here. But no, they don't want to get the fuck out of here. They want to stay and watch these tapes. I understand, they're looking for evidence, and it's a great segue into us watching some really messed up stuff on these VHS tapes. Like, here's some of it. So for this anthology, we have our centerpiece. We have our PIs looking for evidence. Now, in the evidence, we see 4 stories. And I'm going to say this, they're all really very consistent. But, I mean, it's kind of stinks though, because the last one could have been better, and maybe they should have led with the last one first, but each of these stories is wonderful. And great takes on POV and implementing the point of vision, because that's hard to do when you're filming, to have an excuse of why you're holding this camera, and this movie does a really good job of it. If you know me, you know how much I hate spoilers, and I hate doing this, but I need to give you guys a reason to watch this film. So here's what I liked really about VHS 2. First story was fascinating because I really got roped into the technologically enhanced eye, and I like that storytelling, that's why we had to see what he was seeing. And normally I harp on jump scares, but this one has some cheap ones that normally I'm like, man, that's bullshit, you didn't need that. No, it needs it, and it's a lot of fun. Second one was a nice stroll through the park. We have some bikers, not vroom vroom, but bicyclists. They're enjoying their day at the park, and I'm just gonna say, zombies come out to play, and it ain't fun. I'm gonna go forward to the last story because I felt it was the weakest, and it should have been maybe presented first just to get it out of the way, but it has to do with an alien invasion. Kind of creative, but it was just the weakest point of this film. The third story, I kind of titled Cult, C-U-L-T. Yes, Cult. Yeah, this whole story, which I dubbed Cult, is very uneasy. I was uncomfortable the whole time trying to figure out what was going to happen as we follow this camera crew, and they're kind of doing a documentary on this alleged cult that's doing inappropriate things, and oh shit, it gets wild. We go deep down this rabbit hole, and it is super spooky, and if you kind of predicted the end, good for you. I kind of saw it coming, but once you actually get a visual of what occurs and what this cult was doing, it makes the film. You'll see why I put this one above VHS, the original. Let's get to the next anthology movie. Now, when I was making this list, I promised I wasn't just trying to find anthologies that I felt were better than the original. However, I felt that this next one did one-up its original movie. Now, the original was great. Stephen King was in it, I believe, Ted Danson, truly a cult classic, and Creepshow. However, I feel that Creepshow 2 was the better film. Here's why. Okay, I heard the moans and groans, okay, and there's no overwhelming, staggering evidence to suggest that Creepshow isn't the better film, alright? It is a really great film, I loved it, but I think I'm just biased because I saw Creepshow 2 first, and those 3 stories are so solid. I think that's why on this list of films, it is my favorite because of how just equal it is throughout the whole movie. There's no incredible high and incredible low. These are all really nice and consistent in the storytelling, and I'm going to tell you which ones were my favorites. All of them. All 3 of these stories are my favorite, okay? And it opens up with Old Chief. We have a small town, mostly I want to say occupied by Native Americans. Now, we have a store owner that has unbelievable faith and love for this town. Unfortunately, some young thugs repay him by just armed robbery gone wrong. Now, who's going to speak up for the store owner? That's where Old Chief comes in, and we get to see some scary shit happening. Second story, The Raft, probably the main highlight of this film. When you say Creepshow 2, I think of this one automatically. As we have a group of 4 college friends go out to this lake in the middle of nowhere to go on this raft in the middle of the lake. They see something that looks like an oil slick, but ooh, it's not. And check out the story. I don't want to give away anymore because it's fucking creepy. The third and closing story is The Hitcher. We have a promiscuous woman trying to get home quickly after her sordid affair. And, Murphy's Law. She's not going to get home in time. Why? She picked up a hitcher on accident. And it wasn't by opening the door and letting him in. So, if you get my drift, enjoy the story. Let's get to the next anthology. I'm truly trying to remember how I came across this next anthology. I want to say I came across it on Netflix, perhaps. It was released in 2015, and this one has 10 stories to get across. Oh, God. What movie are we talking about? Tales of Halloween. 10 stories. thought of this 10 story bullshit. Oh my god, 10 stories. But they're good stories, okay? So similarly set up to A Night of Horror, Nightmare Radio. We have a radio DJ telling the stories all over town, and these stories range from trick-or-treating gone wrong, kidnapping gone wrong, alien invasion gone wrong, everything gone wrong. All these stories have nice twists and turns, but which ones popped out to me? Let's find out. Well, I'll be damned. Looking at my notes again, I actually really liked all of these stories, but honestly, the first three are what really stood out for me, okay? This first film, spoiler alert, because it's got a really cool scene in here that I want to talk about. I'm not going to say 100% spoilers, but about probably 70%, okay? We have it titled Sweet Tooth, okay? About collecting too much candy gone wrong. We have the babysitter and her boyfriend making up a story to scare the kid, okay? Unfortunately, the story kind of comes true, which isn't good for the babysitter and her boyfriend. However, in this story, we see a scene that I wasn't paying attention to. Then when it hit, I wasn't paying attention how it was set up. When it was executed, check this out, see what you see. I'm hoping through those freeze frames that you saw what I saw, which was a perfect example of imitation is the highest form of flattery. That was a scene from Exorcist 3. If you notice that, if you remember the hospital area where all of a sudden the sheeted figure came after the nurse, you'll see that exact same thing play out in Sweet Tooth, which was really cool to me. Along with that, though, we had a lot of horror royalty in this, so beware for cameos, and let's check out the next anthology. Unlike our other two entries, this one is not a sequel. This is an original, okay? And this original brought the heat because it introduced a new character to us that has his own movie now on Netflix called Terrifier. Terrifier's been out for a while, but the first time I ever saw this character in Terrifier was in this film. This is Art the Clown, starring in All Hallows Eve. Before door dashing fresh nightmares into your room in Terrifier, Art the Clown made his introduction in All Hallows Eve, which was a great anthology with just a few short stories, and what a powerful impact this movie had, especially with this hit of a character, Art. The main focus and story of All Hallows Eve is the delicious trope of the babysitter and her babysittees. The babysitter returns home safely with the kids after they just got their loot of fresh candy, alright? They're going through it, as you should, check your candy, but in there is a weird object. It's a VHS tape. And no, this isn't one of the VHS tapes from the VHS movies, but it certainly could be because there's some creepy content in this film, and throughout all these stories, what keeps popping up? A creepy-ass clown named Art. Truth be told, though, I am not a big fan of the first two tales of the VHS tape, and wow, it's a lot in All Hallows Eve, okay? They're kind of weak. We get to see Art in the first story. The second one is another alien invasion. I don't know what's with these anthologies and doing this, but cut it out. However, what's good about this movie is the pace of it, and that's kept consistent by going back to the main theme of the story, which is the babysitter. Now, it's great that we have these check-ins during intermissions of the stories because we get to see that the family is, I can't even say family, I'm sorry, the brother and sister and the babysitter are in trouble. And we're seeing that it's growing because as the babysitter is watching the tapes, something's happening. There's a presence growing in the house, but what is it? It's Art. Going back to what I said, I didn't like the first two tales, however, it ends incredibly strong with the gas station story, and oh wow, a breathtaking, like, oh shit, that's a messed up ending, kind of ending for All Hallows Eve, which is why I have this on the list of anthologies you should watch immediately. Again, I don't want to say the rest of the ending of All Hallows Eve, but it's one of the more devastating endings I've seen. So again, like I said, 5 anthologies that aren't trick-or-treat that you should check out. And the beautiful thing about anthologies is that it's really hard to get bored with them because you have a nice little buffet of stories that you're going to enjoy. So even if 1 or 2 are bad, the rest of them hopefully should make up for them. And with these ones that I'm suggesting, it's going to be a great watch. You're going to enjoy these tales, alright? Okay, my beautiful audience, thank you guys so much for watching. 5 anthologies that aren't Trick or Treat that you should check out, please click like and subscribe. Tell some friends to like and subscribe, alright? Thank you guys so much for taking the time to hear my opinions on these movies. Leave some suggestions or maybe some of your favorite parts of the movies, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again. Gilbert Ybarra, thank you for watching the Addict Review. Smile, Tiger.